Today, I want to talk about something that affects us all but is often avoided, concealed, or misunderstood: the painful truth. What is the painful truth? It is the reality we often don't want to face. It's the unvarnished facts that challenge our beliefs, shatter our illusions, and force us to confront the uncomfortable. But why is the truth painful? Truth is often painful because it challenges us in profound and unsettling ways. It compels us to confront aspects of our lives, our beliefs, and our actions that we might prefer to ignore. The discomfort arises because truth is unfiltered and unrelenting. It doesn't bend to suit our comfort or convenience. While we might construct narratives to shield ourselves from harsh realities, the truth remains, waiting to be acknowledged. When we finally face it, the encounter is often jarring, leaving us feeling exposed and vulnerable. This is the nature of the painful truth. It holds a mirror up to us and asks us to look closely, even when we'd rather turn away. One reason truth can be so painful is that it disrupts the illusions we build around ourselves. These illusions might take the form of denial, where we refuse to see a situation for what it truly is, or overconfidence, where we believe we are infallible or untouchable. For instance, think about moments when we've been criticized. The initial reaction is often defensiveness, not because the criticism is unfair, but because it forces us to admit that we might have been wrong. Acknowledging mistakes requires humility, and accepting responsibility can be a heavy burden. Yet, this is precisely where growth begins. Without facing the truth, we remain stagnant, repeating the same mistakes and perpetuating the same patterns. Another reason truth is challenging is that it demands change. Change is inherently difficult. It requires effort, discomfort, and sometimes a complete overhaul of how we live or think. For example, if someone is confronted with the truth about their unhealthy lifestyle, whether it's poor eating habits, lack of exercise, or destructive behaviors, they are faced with a choice. They can either ignore the reality and continue down a harmful path, or they can accept the truth and make changes. The latter option, while beneficial in the long run, is not easy. It means stepping out of one's comfort zone and enduring short-term struggles for long-term gain. The truth also tests our resilience and emotional capacity. When faced with a difficult reality, be it the loss of a loved one, a failed relationship, or an unforeseen setback, it is natural to feel overwhelmed. Our instinct might be to escape the pain by distracting ourselves or suppressing our feelings. However, avoiding the truth doesn't make it disappear. It only delays the inevitable reckoning. In fact, the longer we avoid facing the truth, the more power it gains over us. It lingers in the background, manifesting as anxiety, guilt, or even resentment. Confronting it head-on may hurt in the moment, but it allows us to process, heal, and move forward. Another challenge the truth presents is that it often contradicts our expectations or hopes. As human beings, we have an innate tendency to create idealized visions of how things should be. We expect fairness, justice, and happy endings. But the truth is that life is not always fair, and not every story ends the way we'd like. Accepting this can feel like a betrayal of our ideals. Yet, understanding the world as it truly is, rather than as we wish it to be, equips us with the tools to navigate it more effectively. It allows us to set realistic goals, develop resilience, and adapt to circumstances. Perhaps one of the most difficult aspects of facing the truth is its capacity to reveal who we truly are. It forces us to confront our flaws, biases, and limitations. This can be deeply uncomfortable because it challenges the way we perceive ourselves. We might think of ourselves as kind, honest, or hardworking, but the truth may reveal moments where we have fallen short. Accepting these truths doesn't mean we are inherently bad or incapable. Rather, it reminds us that we are human. It is through this acceptance that we can strive to be better. In the end, the pain of truth is not meant to destroy us, but to transform us. While it may unsettle and challenge us, it also offers clarity and the potential for growth. By facing the truth, we step into a place of authenticity where we can address our weaknesses, build on our strengths, and live with greater purpose. The pain is temporary, but the rewards of embracing truth are lasting. Personal truths demand accountability, and this is often one of the hardest challenges we face in life. When we are confronted with truths about our actions, decisions, or relationships, we are forced to take responsibility for how we have contributed to the outcomes in our lives. This process can be uncomfortable and even painful because it strips away excuses and rationalizations. It leaves us face to face with the reality of our choices and the consequences they have created. One of the most challenging aspects of personal truth is admitting when we are at fault. It is human nature to want to protect ourselves from feelings of guilt or shame, so we often look for external factors to blame. Perhaps we blame a failed project on circumstances beyond our control or attribute a strained relationship to the other person's behavior. While external factors may indeed play a role, accepting personal truth means acknowledging our part in the situation. Did we procrastinate on the project? Did we fail to communicate effectively in the relationship? These admissions are difficult, but they are essential for growth. Without taking accountability, we cannot learn from our mistakes or make meaningful changes. Accountability also involves a willingness to reflect honestly on who we are and how we show up in the world. This includes acknowledging not only our mistakes, but also our shortcomings, blind spots, and areas where we need to improve. For instance, we might believe we are good listeners, but the truth may reveal that we often interrupt others or fail to give them our full attention. Recognizing these patterns can be humbling, but it is also empowering. When we accept our flaws, we take the first step toward improving ourselves. Personal growth begins with the courage to face the truth about who we are. In addition to reflecting on our actions, personal truths often demand that we evaluate our relationships. This can be one of the most emotionally charged aspects of accountability because relationships are deeply intertwined with our sense of self. We may need to confront the fact that we are holding on to toxic relationships that no longer serve us or that we have hurt someone we care about. These realizations can be painful, but they also provide an opportunity for healing. Taking accountability in relationships means being willing to apologize, make amends, and sometimes let go of connections that are unhealthy. It also means setting boundaries with others and with ourselves to ensure that our relationships are grounded in mutual respect and understanding. Another layer of accountability involves taking ownership of our goals and aspirations. It is easy to blame external circumstances for why we haven't achieved what we want in life. We might say that we didn't have the right opportunities, resources, or support. While these factors can play a role, accepting personal truth requires us to ask ourselves tough questions. Have we truly given our best effort? Have we been consistent and disciplined in pursuing our goals? Have we been honest with ourselves about what we want? Answering these questions can be uncomfortable because they force us to confront the gap between where we are and where we want to be. However, this process is crucial for moving forward. Taking accountability empowers us to take control of our lives and make choices that align with our values and aspirations. Facing personal truths also means letting go of the need for perfection. It is natural to want to present the best version of ourselves to the world, but striving for an unattainable standard of perfection can be paralyzing. Accepting accountability doesn't mean beating ourselves up for every mistake. It means recognizing that we are human and that growth comes from learning, not from being flawless. This perspective allows us to approach accountability with compassion for ourselves and for others. When we view mistakes as opportunities to learn, rather than as evidence of failure, we create space for transformation. Personal truths are not about placing blame or dwelling on the past. They are about taking responsibility for our actions, learning from our experiences, and committing to growth. Accountability is a powerful tool for self-improvement because it forces us to confront reality and take ownership of our lives. It is through this process that we gain clarity, build resilience, and develop a deeper sense of integrity. By embracing personal truths, we not only improve ourselves, but also create a foundation for more authentic and meaningful relationships with others. Accountability may be challenging, but it is also liberating. It frees us from the weight of denial and empowers us to live with intention and purpose. Societal truths highlight urgent issues that affect communities, nations, and the world at large. These truths often expose systemic problems, injustices, or challenges that have far-reaching consequences. While facing such truths can be daunting and uncomfortable, it is necessary for progress. Acknowledging societal truths forces us to confront realities that we might prefer to ignore, such as inequality, environmental degradation, or social injustice. These issues demand our attention and collective action because they shape the present and determine the future for generations to come. One of the most pressing societal truths is the reality of inequality. Inequality exists in many forms: economic, racial, gender-based, and more. Manifest in income disparities, unequal access to education and healthcare, and systemic biases that marginalize certain groups. Acknowledging this truth means recognizing that not everyone has the same opportunities or privileges. For those who benefit from the status quo, this can be an uncomfortable realization. It challenges the notion of meritocracy, the belief that success is solely the result of hard work and talent. Instead, it reveals the complex interplay of privilege, systemic barriers, and historical injustices. Facing this truth is the first step toward creating a more equitable society. Another urgent societal truth is the escalating threat of climate change. Scientific evidence overwhelmingly points to the fact that human activity, particularly the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial pollution, is driving global warming. This truth is hard to confront. because it implicates nearly every aspect of modern life, from the way we produce energy to how we consume goods and services. Addressing climate change requires collective accountability and significant changes in behavior, policies, and priorities. And it is a truth that demands sacrifice and adaptation, but ignoring it will lead to catastrophic consequences for the planet and future generations. Social injustice is another critical truth that society must face. From systemic racism to gender inequality, these issues are deeply entrenched and often perpetuated by cultural norms, laws, and institutions. Confronting these truths requires us to examine our own biases, question established systems, and advocate for change. For instance, movements like Black Lives Matter and Me Too have brought societal injustices into the spotlight, forcing difficult but necessary conversations about race, gender, and power dynamics. These movements demonstrate that acknowledging painful truths is a catalyst for awareness, advocacy, and reform. A significant barrier to addressing societal truths is the prevalence of denial or apathy. It is easier to ignore problems that feel distant or overwhelming, especially when the solutions require effort, sacrifice, or discomfort. However, denial only exacerbates these issues. Take, for example, the reluctance to address mental health crises. For years, mental health was stigmatized, and society largely ignored the growing rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide. Acknowledging the truth about mental health has led to increased awareness, better resources, and a shift in attitudes toward seeking help. This underscores the importance of facing societal truths head-on, no matter how difficult they may be. One of the reasons societal truths are so challenging to confront is that they often require collective action. Unlike personal truths, which individuals can address on their own, societal issues demand collaboration, compromise, and a shared commitment to change. This can be complicated by differing perspectives, political ideologies, and vested interests. For example, addressing economic inequality involves navigating debates about taxation, social programs, and wealth distribution. These discussions are often polarizing, but they are essential for creating a fairer society. Despite the challenges, confronting societal truths is ultimately empowering. It enables communities to identify problems, mobilize resources, and work towards solutions. For instance, acknowledging the truth about climate change has led to innovations in renewable energy, increased conservation efforts, and global agreements like the Paris Accord. Similarly, recognizing systemic racism has inspired policy changes, educational reforms, and grassroots movements that aim to create more inclusive societies. These examples show that while societal truths may be painful, they also hold the potential for transformation and progress. Facing societal truths requires courage, empathy, and a willingness to act. It means listening to those who are most affected, amplifying marginalized voices, and advocating for systemic change. It also involves holding leaders and institutions accountable for addressing these issues. Societal truths may reveal uncomfortable realities, but they also offer an opportunity to build a better future. By acknowledging and addressing these truths, we take a step toward creating a world that is more just, sustainable, and equitable for everyone. The path may be difficult, but the reward is a society that values truth, compassion, and progress. Truth, though painful, is liberating. While it often feels uncomfortable to confront the unvarnished reality, doing so can free us from illusions, misconceptions, and self-deception. Truth brings clarity, allowing us to see situations, people, and ourselves for what they truly are, rather than what we wish them to be. This liberation may not be immediate. It often comes after a period of discomfort, denial, or grief, but it is transformative. The freedom that truth offers is not just a release from lies or illusions. It is a pathway to authenticity, self-awareness, and growth. One of the most profound ways truth liberates us is by freeing us from the weight of denial. When we avoid the truth, we often construct elaborate justifications or excuses to maintain our sense of comfort. For example, someone struggling in a toxic relationship might convince themselves that things will get better, that they are overreacting, or that they deserve the mistreatment. This denial creates a mental and emotional burden because it requires constant effort to suppress the reality of the situation. However, the moment they acknowledge the truth, no matter how painful, it becomes a turning point. The acknowledgement paves the way for action, whether it's setting boundaries, seeking help, or leaving the relationship altogether. While the process of facing the truth may hurt, the freedom it provides is invaluable. Truth also liberates us by dismantling illusions about ourselves. As individuals, we often hold onto idealized versions of who we are, portraying ourselves as more competent, kind, or ethical than we might actually be. This self-deception can prevent us from recognizing areas where we need to grow. For instance, a person who views themselves as a hard worker may struggle to admit they procrastinate or lack focus. Confronting this truth may be difficult as it challenges their self-image, but it also provides an opportunity to improve. By acknowledging weaknesses and limitations, we free ourselves to address them honestly and constructively. This kind of liberation is not about self-criticism, it is about embracing our humanity and using truth as a tool for growth. Another way truth liberates us is by breaking the chains of fear. Often we avoid the truth because we fear its implications, fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown. For example, someone might stay in a career they dislike because they fear the uncertainty of change or doubt their ability to succeed in a new field. Acknowledging the truth that they are unhappy and unfulfilled can be daunting, but it also opens the door to possibilities. Once they confront their fears and embrace the truth, they can begin to explore alternatives and create a path toward a more satisfying life. The truth may be scary, but it replaces the paralysis of fear with the empowerment of choice. In relationships, truth is the cornerstone of trust and authenticity. When we hide the truth, whether it's our feelings, intentions, or mistakes, we create barriers that distance us from others. While it can be uncomfortable to admit when we've been wrong or to express difficult emotions, doing so fosters genuine connection. For example, confessing a mistake to a loved one might strain the relationship temporarily, but it also demonstrates integrity and respect. Over time, this honesty strengthens the bond, creating a relationship built on transparency and mutual understanding. Truth liberates us from the anxiety of hiding and allows us to engage with others in a meaningful and authentic way. On a broader scale, truth liberates society by exposing injustices and fostering accountability. Historical movements for equality and justice have often hinged on bringing painful truths to light, whether it was the truth about slavery, the oppression of women, or environmental destruction. These truths, once acknowledged, have inspired action, reform, and progress. For instance, exposing the truth about systemic racism has led to greater awareness, policy changes, and grassroots efforts to create a more inclusive society. The process is never easy, and the truths are often met with resistance, but their acknowledgement is the first step toward liberation and transformation. The liberating power of truth also lies in its ability to simplify. Lies, whether told to ourselves or others, create layers of complexity and confusion. Maintaining a false narrative requires constant effort to keep up appearances and cover inconsistencies. Truth, on the other hand, is straightforward. It cuts through the noise and provides a clear foundation for decision-making and action. When we embrace the truth, we no longer have to navigate the tangled web of deceit or delusion. This clarity brings peace of mind and allows us to focus on what truly matters. In embracing the truth, we find freedom not from challenges or difficulties, but from the constraints of denial, fear, and illusion. Truth may not always be easy to face, but its power to liberate is unmatched. It enables us to live authentically, to grow as individuals, and to contribute to a more honest and equitable world. By confronting and accepting truth, we unlock the potential for transformation, clarity, and ultimately a deeper sense of fulfillment.